Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am doing a little bit different of a video than I normally would do. This has nothing to do with beauty, so if you only want to talk about beauty stuff, then you can totally skip past this video. It was just something that I've been doing over the past 2 weeks, and I thought it was really fun. But for anyone who knows me a lot, I love horror movies. Any movie, doesn't matter. I'm a little leery on werewolf movies because I'm terrified of werewolves. And yes, I know they're not real. It doesn't matter. They still will kill you. So you should be careful and just avoid like full moons and hairy people. It's just like scary. So someone had shared something on Facebook not too long ago. It was a list of top 10 surprisingly good horror movies, yada yada yada. Now, I already knew that it was going to be B-rated movies, and if any of you don't already know, anything that isn't something that you have seen in the movie theaters or heard about coming to the movie theaters, it pretty much is already going to just not be a very good scary movie. Scary movies are definitely one of those that you can do low budget and anyone will make one. There are a lot of film festival type of movies, and they're usually not good at all. I have seen quite a few really bad ones, Grave Encounters being one of them. God, that movie was annoying. The movie was terrible. I hated it. But there was one, and I totally can't remember who it was by. It reminded me, I think it was a Wes Craven movie, and it was dead on to Wes Craven's type of stuff. It was really cool. I can't remember what it's called. If I think about it, I will post it. Otherwise, you'll just have to believe me when I say whatever movie I'm thinking of in my head that you don't know. It was awesome. But I love campy sort of movies. So when I saw this list, I'm like, ooh, this is really cool. I'll go ahead and take screenshots of each one of these, and I'll look for them, and I'll try to watch them. So there was a list of 10, and I went ahead, and over the past 2 weeks, I've been watching them. I put them in a list of greatest to least. And to figure out, to tell you, and I basically will tell you, I'll see if I can find the link for that top 10 so you can see what they look like, but I'll talk to you a little bit about them. So the list of the movies are called HouseBound, The Babadook, 13 Sins, ABCs of Death, Torment, The Den, Blue Ruin, In Fear, The Sacrament, and Kristy. So the only movie that I didn't find that I could watch is called Kristy. That one actually has Ashley Greene, which is well known for, I almost said Harry Potter, from the Twilight movies. So Netflix is pretty known for, like, if it ends up being someone that people actually give a shit about, then all of a sudden now you won't find any movies that are worth anything on Netflix. So great. So that one wasn't on there, whatever. So that one automatically went to the bottom of my list because I couldn't find it. So you don't get a score because that. Oh, and I'm ranking these worst to greatest. So the second worst movie that I watched is called The Sacrament. The Sacrament was a documentary style, which I'm not a fan of, so it has a very Blair Witch sort of camera moving all over, and you're constantly going like this to try to see what the hell they're doing and talking about. It was loosely based off of the Jonesburg cult suicides. So it was based off of that, and it was just dumb. Like, it was silly, you know, it wasn't very good. I feel like whenever you do documentary stuff like that, I would love to be, it's always the storyline where it would be so much better if it wasn't documentary style, because every time they do it that way, then it's always so forced, because you're trying to watch an actual story, and then they're always like talking to the camera really dumb, and it's just not plausible. Like, even someone who'd have a camera attached to them, it would never happen. And I believe that one, very similar to how Devil's Due is. Like, give me a freaking break. These people are never turning their camera off, and then now, because something's happened to your weirdo wife, now you have like house cameras, and I just don't like the documentary style. I think it's annoying. If you like it, then maybe you'll get a boner about it, but no. The third worst one was called In Fear, and if you've ever seen the movie Dead End, the basic premises of the movie is that they're driving and it never ends. You're stuck in the Twilight Zone. It never ends, it never stops, you're in a maze. Dead End is basically they just keep driving straight and it never stops. In Fear, it is a Irish or Scottish, it's foreign, so it's basically in one of those places, and they're stuck in a maze. They keep trying to get to this hotel and they can't ever get there, and then people are trying to kill them, whereas Dead End was just weird stuff happening. Dead End was way better. It was funny, it had funny parts in it, it was way better. This one was just stupid, and I have a really hard time understanding European foreign accents. I can never understand what the hell that they were saying. I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was kind of boring. It was just people driving. It was boring. So don't recommend that one. The next one is The Den. The Den was another sort of documentary, and actually they're coming out with a new movie right now called Unfriended, where it's like a webcam thing. And then that's how this one was. It was a webcam thing. She was doing an experiment with her work, and she wanted to see what it was like, or how people responded, or how people interacted over webcam and chats and stuff like that, so on and so forth. So the entire movie is set up in that sort of basis. And I do find it to be interesting. Now, I already know that Unfriended movie is going to it's going to suck ass. I know it is. It's just going to be so stupid. And this one was equally as stupid. And basically, she witnesses a murder, and now she gets murdered. The end. It was just really irritating. Actually, that probably should have been more towards the bottom. It probably should have been right there with the Sacrament, but I thought In Fear was so boring that at least in the Den stuff was happening and the chick was kind of hot, so I was okay with it. So moving on, the next one up was Torment. Torment was kind of this, it was, we went to the woods to an old cabin, and now there's these creepy people that wear like animal masks and they're going to kill us. Reminds me of The Strangers, but not really, because The Strangers were a little bit more psychological about it. These people are just randomly killing people. It did have a lot of the classic things that happen. You know, guy tells girl, don't leave the room. And she's like, okay, I won't. Oh wait, I heard a toy that I already know my son is missing, and I heard it in the hallway. Let me go check on that. And then she goes and gets her ass like all fucked up and stabbed in the leg. I am swearing a lot. I'm so sorry. I'm totally going to try to bleep all of it. The first thing she did when they realized the son was missing is go outside with her like bare and socks feet and step on a nail, and the nail was like 8 inches long, so it's straight through her foot. So immediately, before anyone even is slicing anyone up, she can't walk through the rest of the movie. So it was alright. The character, basis was pretty good. It was relatively a short horror film. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. I'd much rather watch that than The Den any day. I wish it would have been maybe that extra half hour longer to get a little bit more story insight as to why the characters were doing what they were doing, because it just kind of goes into it. You don't really get anything with it. And I know a lot of horror films are like that, but I wish there was a little bit more. Okay. Moving on is ABCs of Death. This is a very interesting series, and this is why this is making towards the top of my list. ABCs of Death is more of a, they're shorts. So they go through the ABCs, A, B, C, D, all the way through, and every person gets to do whatever they want. It's whatever their interpretation, but their title needs to start with the letter. So the first one was called Amateur for A, the B one was called like something Badger, C was, I don't know. So they just went through a bunch of them. They're really interesting. They're super weird. Like the letter D was called, this is ABCs of Death 2. I didn't watch the first one. I feel like I've seen it before or some of it, but I watched the second one. And the letter D was called Deloused, and it was very different. It wasn't live action. It was like almost claymation, but gross. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But everyone gets their own interpretation of how they feel about things, or what they think of in terms of what scary is. Of course, they're really corny and campy, and it makes me think of Tales from the Crypt, but they're much, much shorter. To go through the whole alphabet, it was almost, I think it was like almost 2 hours, but it was totally worth it. It was so interesting. Some of them were kind of funny, some of them were really gross, some of them were weird, but if you're into campy horror crappy movies and you just want something to watch and none of your shows are on, it's totally worth it. It's funny. I'm sure you can make a drinking game out of it too. If you can, they don't tell you the end, they don't tell you the name of it until the end. Great drinking game. You have to be, whoever's the closest to the name of the title wins. The other people have to drink. Whoever's like the furthest away has to take more drinks. You do it, just don't let anyone die, okay? So then the next one is called 13 Sins. And this one was pretty neat too. It was supposed to be set in New Orleans. Pretty much a guy down in his luck. He's always been stomped on, not a super, forthcoming type of guy, not considered your man's man. And he gets given this cell phone where he has an opportunity to play a game where every time it's basically testing his morals. So every time he does one of these challenges, he gets money, but each challenge ends up being worse. So it's kind of like Saw, but instead of it being more like that puzzle needs to be solved and then you can live, and then it's telling you a terrible story about something bad that you did, it was more like, hey, you need to prove to yourself and to the people of this game that you're not a giant pussy, and then you'll get like $1 million or something. So it was pretty interesting. It was a great character set. I think that they did a great job casting it. They weren't anyone that was really known, so it was nice to be able to it's nice not knowing anyone, and they all did a really great job. So that one's totally worth watching. I thought it was great. I don't want to give too much of it away because then I give away the whole movie, so just take my word for it that it was pretty great. The next one, and definitely, this was a tough call between first and second. The next one is called The Babadook, and this one is set in Australia, and it is a story about a widowed wife and her son, and he's obsessed with seeing monsters. He finds this storybook in his house, and it's this, basically, the Babadook is a bad character, a bad thing, and once they read the book, then it was starting to manifest in their house. But then when you get to the end of it, you realize that the subliminal message for the movie is completely different, and it's so cool. It was an amazing movie. It was like creepy in just the slightest way. It wasn't too scary, and then the story, the real moral behind the story was just so incredible. I thought it was a great movie, and that movie gets overlooked, and I find it unfortunate. And it definitely has some creepy parts in it. They did a great job, and that little boy was awesome. He was he is like the new Haley Joel Osment, and that movie reminded me a lot of like how M. Night Shyamalan does a lot. I would say Shyamalan, how he does his movies, where it's like everything makes sense in the end. Okay. So the next one, the top one that I have is called HouseBound. And this one is set in New Zealand. And basically, girl's naughty, she has to move home, and she's on house arrest, and then weird shit is happening in the house. It is so funny. It has the slightest, smallest, creepiest parts of the movie, but it is so funny and campy and goofy. It doesn't make it's like total perfect movie for teenagers watching their first kind of scary movie. The girls have the sleepover, they're drinking their drinks that are non-alcoholic with popcorn, and they're on their PJs and watching scary movies. This one is perfect. There's not any nudity. There is quite a bit of swearing, but that's because other countries say things that they use swearing in a different way that we don't correlate it with. So there is definitely swearing in it, so parents do keep that in mind. But honestly, that movie is 150,000,000,000% worth watching. I love it. If I could find it on like a physical copy so I could have it, I totally would. But I have it safely on Netflix, so I'm gonna just watch it every now and there. It's awesome. And the only one, if you notice, that I didn't mention was called Blue Ruin. I haven't watched that one yet. I actually have it waiting for me here. But it looks okay. It's definitely not going to be a top winner, I know that much. It'll probably fall somewhere in the top 4 is what it looks like to me. It's probably going to be something pretty interesting. It doesn't look like it's going to be the worst, but once I actually upload this video, then I will, when I put in my link, or in the bottom in the description of like greatest to worst, I'll actually physically put it in there for you. But I totally think that everyone should watch what I said and watch these movies that I had mentioned. They're worth it. They're worth it. And when you see these things pop up on your Facebook, definitely like share them, like them on your Facebook so that you can keep them and keep reference to them later, so that you can check them out too, because everyone wants to watch like a weird, scary movie, right? Or is it just me, right? I don't know. Okay. Well, thank you guys for sticking with me. I hope I gained a different type of people for my videos for this. And I will see you guys in my next makeup video. Or maybe a different video. Whatever. Okay, bye.